They said it could never happen. They said the dynasty was untouchable. But this week, the internet watched a 60-year-old billionaire get laughed straight into retirement on camera, while his own label scrambled behind the scenes to bury the one secret that proves the comeback is real. And baby, that is only story number one. A chart-topping rap princess is at war with her own fanbase tonight after her brand new single did the unthinkable on the charts. A rap wife crashed out on her secret page and accidentally handed every blog on the internet a front row seat. And a certain I See Somebody is teasing a comeback that, honey, literally nobody placed an order for. If you click off this video in the next 30 seconds, you are choosing to be the slowest person in your group chat tomorrow morning. Lock all the way in. Alright y'all, listen up, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time pulling up on me, honey, you picked the perfect day because the tea kettle is whistling loud enough to wake the neighbors. Before we get into the mess, do me one solid. Tap that like button like it owes you rent money, drop a comment, and share this video with your messiest friend. If you are new around here, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, so every single time I drop, you are the first one seated at the table with your cup already out. To my returning family, y'all already know how I feel about you, period. And a special shout out to every single channel member holding this community down. If you have been thinking about joining the membership, the link is sitting pretty in the description, and I would truly appreciate the love. Now let me tell you why today's episode is about to be a whole movie. First up, Dame Dash just hopped on a podcast and did exactly what Dame Dash does best. He lit his old business partner Jay-Z up like a 4th of July cookout. And at the exact same time, Roc Nation's official account was scrambling to debunk a massive album leak that Ray Daniels spilled earlier this week. Coincidence? Baby, nothing in this industry is a coincidence. Then, Cardi B's fanbase has been going absolutely feral on the barbs all week long, blaming Nicki Minaj's fans for a flop that Cardi B's own supporters refused to stream. And wait until you hear the audio of Cardi B cursing out the very people who pay her bills. Then, Sukihana ran to her Finsta looking for comfort and found out the hard way that nothing on the internet is a safe space when you are famous. And finally, Saweetie is teasing brand new music, and Chili, I have thoughts. Phew, grab your cups, grab your snacks, and if you have not liked this video yet, this is your sign. Let's get straight into it. So starting with the man of the hour. Now, if you don't know, word on the street is that Jay-Z has a brand new album basically finished and sitting in the vault collecting dust. According to Ray Daniels, who spilled this information with his whole entire chest and had everybody's jaw on the floor, the project is allegedly titled The Blueprint Blast, and Jay-Z has supposedly been dialing up the heavy hitters for features. We are talking names like Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and even Beyoncé herself. Now, keep in mind, Ray put this out there on a public platform for the whole world to hear, and not even 48 hours later, the official Roc Nation account popped up out of absolutely nowhere to shut the whole thing down, calling the album talk completely false. And normally, y'all, a label debunk would be the end of the conversation. But let me ask you a question, and I want you to really sit with it for a second. When was the last time Roc Nation's official page addressed anything that fast? Go ahead, I'll wait. Exactly. The fastest debunk in label history, over an album that supposedly does not exist. Make it make sense, honey. Because from where I am sitting, the louder they deny it, the realer it gets. You do not dispatch the official account to kill a rumor that is not threatening your rollout. You dispatch the official account when the rollout just got spoiled and you need the surprise element back. That is damage control 101, and everybody with eyes can see straight through it. And right on cue, here comes Dame Dash strolling into the chat like the uninvited uncle at Thanksgiving. Now, Dame Dash sat down on a podcast this week, and baby, he did not come to play one single game. When the host asked him whether Jay-Z can actually pull off a comeback album at this stage of his life, Dame Dash did not even hesitate. He laughed in the man's face and said that rappers are not supposed to be coming back at 60 years old. He said, and I am paraphrasing because you need to hear the energy behind it, that it is over, and in his opinion, it has been over for decades. Then Dame Dash took it somewhere even messier, painting the picture of a wrinkled-up 60-year-old stepping back on stage with a hurting back and a little arthritis, not moving the same, and asking the room who exactly is buying a ticket to watch that. The whole podcast table cracked up, and honestly, So did the internet. But Dame Dash was not finished, because then he zoomed in on the details the way only Dame Dash can. He clocked the fitted hat. He clocked the freshly shaved face. He said Jay-Z is out here doing everything he can to look young again, dressing like it is still the early 2000s, striking poses like the glory days never ended. Dame Dash basically said every grown man still rocking a fitted in 2026 is secretly praying for Jay-Z to come back to life musically. And then he turned around and clowned the whole idea of grown men repping another man's baseball team, pointing out that a white man owns that league and there is not a single black owner of a team in it. So why are we volunteering to be walking billboards? Phew. Dame Dash came with the jokes and the economics lesson. That is the thing about Dame Dash. The man will roast you and educate you in the same breath, and you will not even realize you got read until you are in the car on the way home. Now, here is where I need everybody to lean in, because this is the part the blogs are completely missing. Dame Dash is laughing, the internet is laughing, but Jay-Z is not laughing. And the proof is in how that man has been moving lately. Think about it. Jay-Z cut the hair, cleaned up the face, and has been popping up everywhere looking like a man who is trying to remind the culture that he existed. The stadium shows, the anniversary concerts, the suit-and-tie performances, and y'all, reports have been swirling for months about free tickets floating around just to keep those seats warm and those cameras flashing. Now, why would a billionaire who supposedly retired on his own terms be working this hard to be seen? I will tell you why. Because Jay-Z knows something that his ego will never let him say out loud. The people are not running back his old catalog. The streams are not gagging anybody. The kids are not discovering his classics on their own. And for a man whose entire identity is built on being the greatest, that reality is eating him alive. So what do you do when the catalog won't save you? You manufacture a moment. You make some noise. You rehappen. And baby, this is where the story gets diabolical, because according to the streets, Jay-Z was not just planning an album. He was planning an entire war strategy. Now, cast your mind back to that Roots picnic moment, where Jay-Z allegedly threw subliminals in the direction of Nicki Minaj and Drake on the same night. At the time, people were confused about why he would even go there. But now the blueprint, pun fully intended, is crystal clear. Jay-Z was fishing. He was casting lines at the two biggest lightning rods in the culture, praying that one of them would bite. Because if Nicki Minaj had crashed out over that diss, the headlines would have written themselves for a month straight. If Drake had crashed out over that diss, the blogs would have combusted. And in the middle of all that chaos, who conveniently slides in with a first single, then a second single with a heavy-hitting feature, then a third single with the queen herself, and then, surprise, a whole album? Jay-Z. That was the play, y'all. The disses were never personal. They were promotional. He needed a beef to carry his rollout because he knew his name alone could not carry it anymore. But here is the part that turned this whole saga from embarrassing into downright hilarious. Nicki Minaj looked at that bait, recognized exactly what it was, and said absolutely not. She did not tweet. She did not go live. She did not even sub him back. Nicki Minaj gave that man the most expensive response in entertainment. Silence. Total, complete, deafening silence. And Drake? Crickets from that side too. So Jay-Z was left standing in the middle of the ring with his gloves up and nobody to fight. The rollout that was supposed to be fueled by outrage had no outrage. And now, allegedly, he is scrambling to lock in collaborations with Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Beyoncé to salvage the project because the original plan, the controversy plan, flatlined on arrival. Now, in case you missed it, this is the exact same week the Roc Nation account suddenly found its voice to deny the album exists at all. Read that timeline again. The leak drops, Dame Dash clowns the comeback on camera, the label rushes out a denial, and the alleged feature list includes the biggest names alive. Baby, when the denial is louder than the announcement, there is an announcement coming. Now, I have to keep it a buck with y'all. Dame Dash said it is over, that it has been over, and that nobody wants to watch a 60-year-old with a hurting back try to relive 2003. And as cold as that sounds, the numbers might be on Dame Dash's side. Because if the people were truly starving for new Jay-Z music, would he need to go fishing for a Nicki Minaj response to sell it? Would he need the official label page playing defense? Would Dame Dash be able to get a whole podcast room laughing at the very idea of it? The culture is not rejecting Jay-Z's history. His legacy is cemented, and nobody can take that from him. But legacy and demand are two different conversations, and in 2026, the demand side of that ledger is looking real light. So now I need to hear from y'all. Is Dame Dash speaking facts? Or is he a bitter ex-partner who cannot stand to see Jay-Z win without him? And be honest, if the Blueprint Blast actually drops with Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Beyoncé on it, are you pressing play? Or are you letting the 60-year-old keep his fitted and his memories? Sound off below, because this comment section is about to be a war zone all by itself. And let me double back to Dame Dash for one more second, because the man deserves his flowers for the sheer precision of the read. Notice how Dame Dash did not attack Jay-Z's catalog. He did not attack the classics. He attacked the vanity, the fitted hat, the shaved mustache, the fitted cap energy of a man dressing like it is still 2003 because 2003 is the last time the world revolved around him. That is a surgical strike, y'all, because Dame Dash knows better than anybody that Jay-Z's comeback is not about music at all. It is about relevance, and relevance is the one currency a billionaire cannot just wire transfer into his account. And do not gloss over what Dame Dash said about the baseball cap either, because buried inside the joke was a whole sermon. A white man owns that league. There is not a single black owner of a team. So why are we volunteering our heads as free advertising? Dame Dash will roast you, school you, and invoice you in the same sentence. That is why his reads travel further than anybody else's. There is always a second layer hiding under the punchline, and the second layer is always about ownership. And when you frame it that way, the whole Jay-Z rollout starts to look different. The stadium shows, the anniversary concerts, the reports of free tickets circulating to keep those arenas glowing on camera. None of it is random. It is a man protecting the one asset that matters more than money, the public's memory of his importance. The tragedy is that memory and demand are not the same account, and no amount of nostalgia touring can deposit streams into 2026. Dame Dash said the quiet part with a smile. The empire is a museum now, and Jay-Z is out here polishing the exhibits hoping the crowd mistakes the museum for a factory. And if the Blueprint Blast really is sitting in a vault with Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Beyoncé holding the doors open, then the next 60 days are about to tell us everything. Because you cannot debunk an album into existence, and you cannot deny one out of existence either. Now, moving right along, because the foolishness did not stop there, not even close. Sukihana has found herself in the middle of yet another storm, and this time, honey, she built the storm, moved into it, and then acted shocked that it was raining. Now, in case you missed it, Sukihana has been getting dragged up and down the internet for weeks over that whole situation involving 21 Savage, plus the Clarissa Shields and Papoose conversation that had everybody's eyebrows somewhere near the ceiling. Charleston White, of all people, hopped on a platform and went completely off on her. And let me tell you, when Charleston White is the one reading you for filth, you have wandered into a very strange neighborhood. And if you missed my previous video breaking down that entire speech, go check it out right after this one, because that mess deserves its own documentary. So there's Sukihana is catching heat from every direction, and instead of doing the smart thing, which would have been absolute, complete, total silence, she decides to run to her Finsta for comfort. For anybody who might be new to the lingo, a Finsta is a fake Instagram account, a private little page where you are supposed to be able to vent in peace. Key phrase, y'all, supposed to. Sukihana hopped on her Finsta and started posting about how everybody can keep running with the little narratives in their heads and keep trying to bring her down, and she even threw a song on the post to set the mood. A whole moment. And within hours, the blogs had every single word screenshotted and plastered across the internet. And what was Sukihana's response to finding out her private page was public? She went right back to the same Finsta and posted that she thought she was safe there, and now the blogs are going to post everything she puts on it. Baby, I had to read it twice. Let me explain something, and I need Sukihana or somebody from her team to take notes, because clearly nobody in that circle understands how any of this works. A Finsta only works when nobody knows it is yours. That is the entire mechanism. That is the whole technology. It is a safe space because it is anonymous. But when you are a whole celebrity posting your own face, your own voice, and your own life on the account. And you have been doing it long enough for the general public to connect the dots. Honey, that is not a Finsta anymore. That is just a second Instagram with worse lighting. You cannot announce the location of your hiding spot and then cry when people show up to it. That is not how hiding works. That is not how anything works. And the truly tragic part? She had already crashed out on live about this exact same situation, so the whole world was already watching her closely, and then she decided a semi-secret page was the place to keep talking. The blogs did not even have to dig. She catered the meal and served it herself. Now, here is my honest advice, free of charge. Sukahana, you were in that relationship for 6, going on 7 years, and do you know what? I will actually applaud you for that. Because in an industry where Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion cannot seem to keep a relationship upright long enough to take a picture, holding one situation down for that many years is practically a miracle. But baby, the relationship being long does not mean the situation was cute, and now that there is a child involved, which is a blessing, period, full stop, the smartest possible play was to keep paying all of this dust the way you had been paying it for weeks and months. Instead, the moment the heat died down, you ran to a not-so-secret page and reminded everybody to keep talking about you. You cannot demand privacy at the top of your lungs in public. And the delusion of it all is exactly why the general public keeps handing her the backhand treatment. Because every time sympathy starts loading up, she grabs the mic and deletes it herself. So sound off below. Was Sukihana genuinely blindsided that her Finsta is basically a press release? Or is this secretly exactly the attention she ordered? I have my theory, and I am betting most of y'all have the exact same one. Now, let's get into the story that has been setting the entire internet ablaze all week long. Because chilly, the delusion has reached historic levels. So Cardi B dropped her brand new single, the one her fanbase swore up and down was going to debut in the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. They were counting the charts before the song even charted. Well, the numbers came in, and baby, the numbers said no. The song pulled in roughly 5 million streams in its entire first week and still has not crawled past 6 million on Spotify as we speak. For a regular artist, that is a Tuesday. For Cardi B, whose fans have spent years screaming that she is the Beyoncé of female rap, that is a 5-alarm fire. And here is where it gets insane. Instead of the fanbase putting their heads down and actually streaming the record, instead of buying the song, instead of lifting a single finger for the woman they claim to ride for, they spent the entire week doing what? Attacking the Barbs, blaming Nicki Minaj's fans, screaming into the void that the Barbs somehow made the song flop. Now, I need somebody to explain the science to me slowly. How did Nicki Minaj's fanbase stop your streams? Did the Barbs hold their phones hostage? Did Nicki Minaj personally block the download button? Make it make sense, because from where I am sitting, the only people who did not stream that song are the people busy typing paragraphs about Nicki Minaj. And one fan in particular went viral this week trying to spin the whole thing, and I have to address it directly. He came online admitting he predicted a top 10 debut and got it wrong. And then he tried to argue that a top 30 debut is not really a flop by today's female rap standards, but that it only feels like a flop because it is Cardi B, because the bar for Cardi B is higher. Then he dragged Nicki Minaj's Bigfoot into it, arguing that Bigfoot only debuted at number 23 because it dropped in the middle of the Nicki and Megan Thee Stallion beef, and that it fell clean off the chart the very next week. So by his math, first week numbers do not matter and longevity is what counts. Now, let me clock the holes in that argument one by one, because the gymnastics pulled a muscle. Number 1. Nicki Minaj released one version of Bigfoot. 1. Cardi B's camp pushed out nearly 10 versions of her single, and the song was reportedly discounted on the very day it came out. You do not slash the price of a product you believe in, honey. That is clearance rack behavior on release day. Number 2. These are the exact same fans who spent years worshipping at the altar of first-week numbers whenever Cardi B was charting. Back then it was stats, receipts, and screenshots. Now that the stats are ugly, suddenly numbers are a social construct and longevity is all that matters. Baby, you cannot be the scoreboard people only when you are winning. And number 3, the part that made me scream, if Bigfoot only charted because of beef hype, what does it say that Cardi B's single could not chart with the hype of a fanbase war, a discount, and 10 versions? The copium is pharmaceutical grade. But wait, because it gets worse. While the fans were out here fighting the barbs, Cardi B herself hopped on a live audio space and crashed all the way out at her own fans. The actual audio had the whole internet clutching its pearls because Cardi B told her supporters, in so many words, that she does not need to go record in Miami for 2 weeks for them, that the complaining does not motivate her, and that she is getting money right now, so she does not need to do music right now. She literally said, "Forget y'all," except not in those words, to the same people who put the money in her pockets in the first place. And the wildest part? This is a woman who has built an entire catalog on telling you she is the best to ever do it, that every other girl is beneath her, but the second the audience says a song is not hitting, suddenly music is not that deep, and everybody needs to see the positive. Positive where, Cardi B? Meanwhile, and I need y'all to sit with this, Bia has been quietly outstreaming the song with a fraction of the budget and none of the drama. That should be impossible. That should be illegal. But when you are too busy arguing with your customers to mind your store, the shop across the street eats. And the fan complaints were not even baseless, which is the part Cardi B refuses to hear. Her own supporters were asking about the music video budget because the visuals looked cheap, and this matters because Cardi B is the one who trained them to care. She is the one who bragged that WAP cost $2 million. She is the one who bragged that bongos cost $2 million, that Enough, Miami, cost $1.5 million. You cannot flex budgets for years and then act offended when the people notice the budget left the building. And here is the kicker that proves the fan base does not even understand the game they are playing. The video views were not going to save the chart position anyway, because YouTube video streams no longer count toward the Billboard Hot 100 the way they used to. So the fans were crashing out over a visual that could not help the song, while refusing to do the one thing that could, streaming it on the platforms that actually count. And when pressed, their excuse was that they use Apple Music, not Spotify. Chilly. The song is flopping on Apple too. The delusion is platform independent. So sound off below, because I need to know, was Cardi B wrong for cursing out the fans who pay her bills, or did the fan base earn every bit of that verbal backhand? And be honest, is this single a grower, or is it a goner? And since we are keeping receipts tonight, let's talk about the sheer irony of the timeline. Cardi B built her entire brand on being the girl of the people, the regular, degular, schmegular girl from the Bronx who never forgot where she came from. That brand was rocket fuel for a decade. But you cannot run the "I am just like you" play for 10 years and then hop on a live space the moment things get rocky and announce that you are getting money and do not need to do music for the people anymore. That is not a slip of the tongue, y'all. That is a mask slip. And the fans heard it, which is why the backlash has not slowed down for a single day. Because the audience can forgive a flop. Flops happen to everybody, even the greats. Even Nicki Minaj has records she would love to delete from the timeline. What the audience cannot forgive is being told, directly, in plain language, that their opinions are worth less than the money already in the bank. And here is the layer nobody on either side wants to touch. The more the fanbase wages war on the barbs, the more oxygen they pump into Nicki Minaj's name, and the less oxygen reaches the single they are supposedly fighting for. Every quote tweet dragging Bigfoot is a stream that never happened. Every thread about the barbs is a playlist the song never got added to. Cardi B's defenders are literally funding Nicki Minaj's engagement metrics with their own rage, and the math of that is so backwards it belongs in a museum. Meanwhile, Bia, with no fanbase war, no 10 versions, no discount day one pricing, no live space meltdown, just kept showing up and letting the record work. There is a whole lesson in that, and it is free. In 2026, the loudest person in the room is almost never the one charting. So the next time the timeline tells you a top 30 debut is actually a victory because of longevity and feelings, and the bar being different for Cardi B, remember who moved that bar, and remember that the same voices spent years measuring everybody else by the exact ruler they now claim is broken. Now, last but certainly not least, let's talk about a comeback that absolutely nobody submitted a request for. So this week, a fan, and y'all, half the internet is convinced the fan account was actually a certain somebody's own burner page, but we will behave, tweeted directly at Saweetie saying they need her back, calling her the icy queen, and saying it is time for her to defrost. Defrost. The icy queen needs to defrost. Now, Saweetie saw that tweet and responded with a little sticker, basically teasing that something is indeed coming. And just like that, the blogs had their headline: Saweetie is plotting her return to the female rap scene. And look, before anybody comes for me, let me say this with my whole chest. Saweetie is a gorgeous girl. A stunning girl. The face card has never once declined, not one time. And Nanny was a cute little moment. I will give her that. But we have to start being honest in these streets, because a comeback requires two things: people who noticed you left and people who want you back. And I am simply asking, respectfully, peacefully, with love, where are those people? Because here is the cold, hard math of the situation. Saweetie has been in the game for years now. Years, y'all. And in all that time, through all the singles, all the features, all the pretty girl anthems, all the samples of songs that were already hits before she touched them, Saweetie has never, not once, delivered a full album. There is no album. There has never been an album. The discography is a graveyard of standalone singles that came and went like seasonal drinks. And that is exactly why this tease has me concerned, because if history is any indication, what Saweetie is about to give us is not a body of work. It is another lone single, another 2 weeks of playlist placement, another quiet chart exit, and another 6 months of silence. The girl keeps dropping appetizers at a restaurant that has never served an entree. At this point, the singles are not building anticipation for the album. They are replacing the album, and the replacement is not hitting. So here is my free consulting for Team Saweetie, and I truly hope somebody in that camp is taking notes. Do not drop another single. I mean it. Not one. Whatever music Saweetie has been cooking, if it is not 12 to 15 tracks deep with a concept, a cover, and a release date, keep it in the vault until it is. Because the only thing that can change the conversation around Saweetie at this point is a full project that forces people to sit with her as an artist and not as a pretty face with a catchy hook every 8 months. Dropping one more loose single into the ocean and watching it sink is not a comeback. It is a confirmation. And the female rap field right now is too crowded, too fast, and too hungry for half measures. Cardi B is at war with her own fans. Nicki Minaj has the barbs on permanent active duty. Megan Thee Stallion is moving like a machine. Bia is outstreaming people with no budget and no drama. The lane does not have room for vibes alone anymore. So now I need y'all to weigh in and be honest in the comments. Is Saweetie's return something the culture actually needs? Or is this a one-woman comeback for an audience of one fan account that may or may not be Saweetie herself? And if she drops a single instead of an album after all these years, are you streaming it? Or are you letting the icy queen stay frozen? Sound off below. And before we move to the final word, let me paint the full picture of this week's leaderboard, because when you line all 4 stories up side by side, a pattern jumps off the screen and slaps you. In one corner you have Jay-Z, a man with everything money can buy, discovering that the one thing he cannot purchase is a reason for the culture to care in 2026. In another corner you have Cardi B, a woman who conquered the entire industry, now standing in a live audio space arguing with the very fan base that carried her there while her single sits outside the top 25 collecting dust. Then you have Sukihana, who had the internet's sympathy fully loaded and ready to deploy, and detonated it herself with a Finsta that was about as private as a billboard on the highway. And then you have Saweetie, teasing a return to a scene that, if we are being honest with ourselves, never formally acknowledged her arrival in the first place. For different stars, for different corners of the culture, and the exact same disease, confusing attention with demand. Attention is what Dame Dash's clip got this week. Demand is what Nicki Minaj's catalog gets every single day without her lifting a finger. And the distance between those two things is where every single one of this week's stories lives. That is the real headline underneath all 4 headlines. And it is the one the other blogs will never print because it requires them to admit that hype is not the same thing as hunger. The algorithm can be fed. The timeline can be fed. But the audience? The audience can only be earned. And this week proved that lesson 4 separate times in 4 separate zip codes. Screenshot that sentence, because by the time the next rollout season starts, every single one of these names is going to prove it again. Now, one more thing before the receipts get filed away, because I promised y'all the full picture, and I do not break promises on this channel. Pay attention to who stayed silent all week. Nicki Minaj did not say one single word while her name trended off the strength of a Jay-Z rollout plan, a Cardi B fanbase meltdown, and a Bigfoot comparison debate she never asked to be part of. 3 different storms, one woman at the center of all of them, and she did not type so much as a period. That is not an accident, y'all. That is what power looks like when it is fully matured. The Barbs fought the fanbase war, the blogs wrote the headlines, and Nicki Minaj's name did cardio in the algorithm without her spending a single calorie. Meanwhile, everybody else on this week's board spent real money, real energy, and real reputation just to be discussed. Remember that contrast the next time somebody tells you the loudest person is winning. The winner this week never opened her mouth. Phew. Y'all, what a week to be seated on this side of the internet. Let's run it back one more time, because the sheer volume of mess deserves a victory lap. We watched Dame Dash hop on a podcast and laugh Jay-Z's entire comeback dream straight into the ground. Fitted hat, shaved face, arthritis jokes and all, while the official Roc Nation account performed the fastest debunk in label history over an album that supposedly does not exist. Baby, the denial is the confirmation. The blueprint blast is out there somewhere, and if Ray Daniels is telling the truth about those Eminem, Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and Beyoncé features, then Jay-Z is not planning a comeback. He is planning a hostage situation with the whole culture as the audience. The only question left is whether Nicki Minaj's silence already killed the rollout before it could breathe, because that man was banking on a war and got a wall instead. Then we watched Cardi B's brand new single Faceplant on the charts, 5 million streams in a week, still gasping for 6, nearly 10 versions deep, discounted out the gate. And instead of streaming it, the fanbase declared war on the Barbs like Nicki Minaj personally unplugged the servers. And when the smoke cleared, Cardi B herself got on a live space and told her own supporters, the ones funding the lifestyle, that she is getting money and does not need to do music for them. In any other industry, cursing out your customers gets you fired. In female rap, apparently, it gets you a Stan account defense video arguing that a top 30 debut is actually a win because longevity, vibes, and feelings. The gymnastics, honey. Simone Biles is taking notes. Then Sukahana taught a free masterclass in how not to use a Finsta, crashing out on her not-so-secret page, getting screenshotted by every blog with a Wi-Fi connection, and then returning to the very same page to announce that she thought she was safe there. The safe space had her face on it, y'all. The safe space had her name in the search bars of half the internet. At some point, we have to admit that some people do not want privacy. They want an audience with plausible deniability. And finally, Saweetie answered one fan tweet with one sticker, and somehow that became a comeback announcement for a career that has still never produced a single album. The Icy Queen is defrosting, but nobody can locate the guests at the thaw. Now here is where I need every single one of you to clock in, because this comment section is about to separate the watchers from the knowers. Question 1. Is Roc Nation's lightning-fast denial proof that the blueprint blast is real, or was Ray Daniels just talking to hear himself talk? Question 2. Does Cardi B owe her fans an apology for that live space meltdown, or did the fans owe her streams before they owed her opinions? Question 3. Should Sukahana delete the Finsta, own the Finsta, or just start charging the blogs a subscription fee since they live there anyway? And question 4. If Saweetie drops a single and not an album, is that the official end of the comeback conversation? Pick your battles and get to typing, because I read everything, and the spiciest takes are getting pinned. Now, before y'all go anywhere, listen closely, because the next upload is already loaded, and it is even more unhinged than this one. There is a story brewing behind the scenes of this Jay-Z situation that nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about yet. And when it breaks, you are going to want to say you heard it here first. The only way that happens is if that notification bell is on. So if you have not rung it yet, baby, this is your final boarding call. Tap the like button on your way out so the algorithm knows the tea was piping. Share this video with the one friend who always finds out the news 3 days late. And if you want to go the extra mile for the channel, that membership link in the description is waiting with your name on it. To my Day One family, y'all already know the love is